Some of these games still hold up today, not just in memory, actually playing them again. The lighting, the animations, the scale, this wasn't supposed to be possible on the PlayStation 2. But these games pushed the PS2 to its absolute limits. Here's part 2 of PS2 games that looked way too good for their time. Released on PlayStation 2, Gun was one of those games that made players stop and wonder how this was even possible on the hardware. Visually, it pushed the console far beyond expectations, delivering wide-open environments, long draw distances, dynamic lighting, dust effects, and surprisingly detailed character animations. These visuals helped the game feel alive and cinematic, especially during horseback rides across deserts and frontier towns. The impact was immediate. During its first month, Gun sold over 225,000 copies across its initial console releases, and by 2008, it had surpassed 1.4 million units sold in the United States. Critics praised its ambition, and it even won Action Game of the Year. The story follows Colton White, a man of indigenous descent raised by his adopted father, Ned. While traveling together, their ship is attacked by renegades, and Ned sacrifices himself to save Colton moments before the explosion. Believed dead, Colton survives and awakens alone, setting him on a revenge-driven journey across the American Old West. His search for the truth takes him through regions inspired by Montana, Kansas, and New Mexico, where he forms uneasy alliances and dangerous rivalries. Gameplay unfolds in an open-world structure from a third-person perspective. Players can explore freely on foot or horseback using pistols, rifles, shotguns, and dynamite. Optional side activities include bounty hunting, animal hunting, and poker. The standout mechanic is Quick Draw, which slows time and shifts to first person, allowing precise, cinematic gunfights that strongly influenced later Western games like Red Dead. Set hundreds of years before the first game, Valkyrie Profile 2 Silmeria immediately stands out for its visuals, which pushed the PlayStation 2 far beyond expectations. The game uses advanced lighting techniques for its time, including high dynamic range effects that create deep shadows, glowing highlights, and a striking sense of depth. Character models are highly detailed, animations are fluid, and even subtle changes in facial expressions help distinguish Alicia's softer presence from Silmeria's colder resolve. Environments feel alive, with moving foliage, flowing cloth, and rich medieval architecture that still looks impressive today. The story follows Silmeria, the youngest of the 3 Valkyries, whose soul is bound to a human girl named Alicia after she defies Odin. Forced to share the same body, Silmeria slowly awakens as Alicia is branded insane and erased from history. When a war between gods and humans looms, Silmeria urges Alicia to flee, refusing to return to Valhalla and setting both on a journey driven by fate and survival. Exploration unfolds in 3-dimensional side-scrolling environments filled with platforming and environmental puzzles. Alicia uses photon attacks to freeze enemies and activate mechanisms, turning every dungeon into a tactical space. Magical stones found throughout the world alter combat rules, forcing strategic decisions before battles. Combat takes place in full 3-dimensional arenas using the advanced tactical combination system. Each character is tied to a controller button, enabling coordinated attacks, positioning, and long combos. Enemies feature breakable body parts, and sustained assaults trigger break mode, unleashing devastating attacks without limits. Released in 2004, Jak 3 is one of the clearest examples of how far developers managed to push the PlayStation 2. Right from the start, the visuals stand out with sharp textures, large open environments, stable performance, and fluid animations that still hold up surprisingly well. The desert landscapes are massive, vehicle sequences run smoothly, and character models show expressive animations that feel far ahead of most games from that era. It's the kind of game that made people wonder how this was even running on PS2 hardware. Jak 3 concludes the trilogy by expanding everything that worked before. The world is much larger, now split between the harsh desert wasteland, Spargus City, and a redesigned Haven City. This shift allows for greater scale, more varied environments, and constant visual contrast between open spaces and dense urban areas. The story follows Jak after he is exiled into the desert and forced to survive among new factions, while a larger planetary threat emerges. Familiar characters return, new allies are introduced, and the narrative steadily escalates toward a full-scale conflict. Gameplay is more refined and accessible than its predecessor. Platforming, third-person shooting, and vehicle combat are blended seamlessly. The Morph Gun receives multiple new upgrades, expanding Jack's arsenal significantly, while the introduction of Light Jack balances the destructive Dark Jack form with defensive and support abilities. Vehicles play a major role, especially buggies used to traverse the desert at high speed. Critically praised at launch, Jack 3 was celebrated for its technical achievement, variety, and polish. Few PlayStation 2 games aimed for a cinematic look the way Genji. From the very first moments, the game impresses with sharp character models, dramatic lighting, and fluid animations inspired by classic Japanese samurai cinema. The environments feel carefully staged, with wide battle arenas, detailed textures, and camera angles that constantly highlight the action. For its era, Genji looked strikingly polished and showed how far the PS2 could be pushed visually. Gameplay unfolds from a third-person perspective with a strong focus on stylish, fast-paced combat. Players take control of Yoshitsune or Benkei, two warriors with completely different strengths. Yoshitsune relies on speed and agility, using dual blades, double jumps, and wall interactions to outmaneuver enemies. Benkei, on the other hand, is slower but devastatingly powerful, wielding a massive club capable of shattering enemies and heavy structures alike. Switching between them adds rhythm and variety to the action. Combat centers around standard attacks, special techniques, and the Kamui system. By collecting mystical stones, players charge an energy meter that unleashes powerful abilities capable of clearing entire groups of enemies. Progression is handled through experience and upgrades, gradually expanding each character's combat potential. The story draws loose inspiration from the Tale of the Heike, following Yoshitsune's journey as he rises against the Taira clan. History and myth blend naturally, reinforcing the game's epic tone. Released in 2006 for the PlayStation 2, Xenosaga Episode III arrived as a technical and visual leap for the series. From the very beginning, the game makes a statement with sharper character models, improved facial animations, and far more cinematic camera work than its predecessors. Lighting effects are richer, environments feel denser, and combat animations are noticeably smoother, pushing the console close to its limits. Developed by Monolith Soft and published by Bandai Namco, Episode 3 was created to properly conclude the Xenosaga trilogy, after the original 6-part plan was condensed. That focus is reflected in its presentation, which feels more confident, polished, and visually consistent throughout long story sequences and battles. The story follows Shia Nozuki and the battle android Cosmos as they search for the true origin of the Gnosis while being hunted by powerful figures known as the Testaments. The narrative leans heavily into science fiction philosophy, fate, and identity, delivered through lengthy, high-quality cutscenes that rival animated films of the era. Gameplay remains turn-based, but is more refined, offering faster combat flow, deeper skill customization, and large-scale battles using advanced combat mechs. Visual effects during combat, especially special attacks and finishing moves, stand out as some of the most impressive seen in a PlayStation 2 role-playing game. Critically praised and selling over 300,000 copies worldwide, Xenosaga Episode III is remembered not just as a narrative finale, but as one of the most visually ambitious role-playing games ever released on the platform. Released as Dark Cloud 2 in North America, Dark Chronicle is a 2002 action role-playing game developed by Level 5 and published by Sony Computer Entertainment for the PlayStation 2. Right from the opening moments, the game impresses with its visuals, large, fully three-dimensional environments, vibrant lighting, smooth animations, and a colorful fantasy art style that felt far ahead of its time. Even today, the presentation still holds up remarkably well on original hardware. The game is a direct sequel to Dark Cloud, expanding on its ideas with far more depth and polish. The story follows two protagonists, Max and Monica, who must work together to stop the Emperor Griffin from destroying the world. Time travel is central to the narrative, allowing the characters to change past events in order to rebuild and reshape the future. which directly ties into the core gameplay systems. Instead of traditional character leveling, Dark Chronicle focuses on weapon progression. Weapons gain experience, evolve into stronger forms, and can be deeply customized through a synthesis system. Combat mixes fast-paced melee, ranged attacks, and unique abilities, including Max's customizable ride pod and Monika's monster transformations. Another standout feature is the Diorama system, where players rebuild entire towns using materials found in dungeons. The way structures are placed directly affects future outcomes, giving the game a strong sense of player agency. Critically praised at launch, Dark Chronicle remains one of the most ambitious, creative, and visually impressive role-playing games ever released on the PlayStation 2. Onimusha 3 Demon Siege is a 2004 action-adventure game developed and published by Capcom for the PlayStation 2. From the very start, the game stood out thanks to its visuals. Unlike earlier entries, it abandoned pre-rendered backgrounds and embraced real-time three-dimensional environments, delivering smoother animations, dynamic camera angles, and far more cinematic combat. At the time, it was one of the most visually ambitious games on the PS2. The story follows the return of Samanosuke Akechi, once again facing Nobunaga Oda. This time, the narrative takes a bold turn with time travel, swapping Samanosuke with a modern-day French officer named Jacques Blanc. This allowed the game to shift between feudal Japan and modern Paris, creating a striking visual contrast rarely seen on the console. Detailed city streets, lighting effects, and large-scale environments push the hardware in impressive ways. Gameplay keeps the series' core mechanics intact, including elemental weapons, soul absorption, and the powerful Oni transformation. Combat feels faster and more fluid, thanks to improved controls and the new engine. Jacques introduces a different playstyle with his energy whip, while Samanosuke remains focused on precise swordplay and ranged attacks. One of the standout features is how time travel is used in puzzles, letting actions in the past affect the future. Combined with high-quality CGI cutscenes directed by Donnie Yen, Onimusha 3 became a technical showcase. Well received by critics and selling over 1.5 million copies, it remains one of the most visually impressive action games on the PlayStation 2. Rogue Galaxy is one of Level 5's most ambitious projects. Developed at a time when the studio had already won players over with titles like Dark Chronicle and Dragon Quest VIII. From the very beginning, the game stands out thanks to its striking visuals. Using cell shading technology, Rogue Galaxy delivers a fully three-dimensional world with a strong anime-inspired art style, resulting in vibrant colors, expressive characters, and visuals that were truly impressive for the PlayStation 2 era. The technical ambition behind the game is massive. Rogue Galaxy was released on a dual-layer DVD, allowing it to store an enormous amount of content. This scale is reflected directly in the experience, as the game easily offers over 100 hours of gameplay, filled with planets to explore, characters to meet, and complex systems to master. Its combat system blends real-time action with RPG mechanics, creating fast-paced battles that remain engaging from start to finish. Even though encounters are quick, they are crucial for character growth and weapon progression, making combat both exciting and meaningful throughout the journey. The story follows Jaster Rogue, a 17-year-old boy living on the planet Rosa, which is under the control of the Longguardian Federation. After saving his hometown from an attack, Jaster is mistaken for the legendary treasure hunter Desert Claw, pulling him into a galaxy-spanning adventure. Alongside Steve, a droid, and Simon, an alien companion, Jaster joins the crew of the pirate ship Dorganark, led by the famous Captain Dorgangoa. Along the way, he meets characters like Kisela, Zegram, and Lilica, traveling across multiple planets and facing increasingly dangerous threats. Burnout 3 Takedown is an arcade racing game developed by Criterion Games and published by EA Games for the PlayStation 2 and Xbox. From the very first race, the game immediately impresses with its visuals. The sense of speed is intense, enhanced by heavy motion blur, dramatic camera shakes, detailed car damage, and explosive crash effects that constantly push the PS2 hardware to its limits. Even today, the visual impact of its crashes and takedowns still feels powerful. As the third entry in the Burnout series, the game expands far beyond its predecessor by fully embracing aggressive racing. Winning isn't just about crossing the finish line first. Players are encouraged to smash rivals into traffic, walls, and each other to perform takedowns, which reward boost and momentum. When crashing, the game enters impact time, allowing players to steer their wreckage to cause even more destruction, turning failure into opportunity. Burnout 3 features a full World Tour career mode, local multiplayer for up to 4 players, and online races with up to 8 competitors. Gameplay is split into 4 main modes: Race, Road Rage, Crash, and Burning Lap, each offering a different twist on speed and destruction. With 67 fictional vehicles across multiple classes and near-universal critical acclaim, Burnout 3 won Racing Game of the Year in 2004 and remains one of the most visually striking and adrenaline-fueled racing games ever released on the PlayStation 2. Kingdom Hearts 2 is an action RPG released in 2005, developed by Square Enix in collaboration with Buena Vista Games for the PlayStation 2. From the very beginning, the game stands out for its impressive graphics, featuring large environments, refined lighting effects, highly fluid animations, and fast, flashy combat that clearly pushed the PS2 hardware to its limits. The game is a direct sequel to Kingdom Hearts, and takes place 1 year after the events of Chain of Memories. Players follow Sora as he searches for his lost friends while confronting the mysterious Organization 13. The story adopts a more mature and cinematic tone, supported by strong voice acting, emotional cutscenes, and a memorable soundtrack. Gameplay blends real-time action with classic RPG systems. Combat feels faster and more responsive thanks to the reaction command system, which triggers context-sensitive attacks during battles, making fights more dynamic and visually exciting. Another major addition is the drive gauge, allowing Sora to enter powerful transformation states that change his fighting style, unlock new abilities, and even let him wield 2 Keyblades at once. The gummy ship system was also reworked, turning world travel into a more engaging and visually varied experience. With strong sales, critical acclaim, and an expanded Final Mix version, later remastered in high definition, Kingdom Hearts 2 remains one of the most ambitious, stylish, and visually impressive RPGs ever released on the PlayStation 2. Sly Cooper is a platform and stealth game developed by Sucker Punch Productions and published by Sony Computer Entertainment, released exclusively for the PlayStation 2 in 2002. From the start, the game stood out thanks to its cel-shaded visuals, using bold outlines, strong colors, and smooth animation to create a stylish look inspired by animated crime films. Even today, its visual identity remains striking and instantly recognizable. The story centers on Sly Cooper, a master thief raccoon, and his partners Bentley and Murray. Their mission is to defeat the Fiendish Five and recover the Thievius Raccoonus, a book containing generations of stolen Cooper family techniques. The narrative is told through cinematic cutscenes that highlight expressive character animation and dramatic presentation. Set in a modern world populated by talking animals, the game reveals Sly's tragic past. His father was murdered by the Fiendish Five, led by the immortal robotic owl Clockwork, who despises the Cooper bloodline. Orphaned, Sly grows up alongside Bentley and Murray, forming the Cooper Gang while constantly being chased by Interpol Inspector Carmelita Fox. Gameplay blends precise platforming with stealth-focused mechanics, encouraging careful timing, smart movement, and strategic enemy encounters. Each level features a unique theme, reinforcing the feeling of a globe-trotting heist. The adventure culminates in a showdown with Clockwork. Praised for its art direction, animation quality, and polished design, Sly Cooper remains one of the most stylish and memorable PlayStation 2 games ever made.
Soulcalibur III.
On PlayStation 2, Soulcalibur III pushed the series' visual identity further than ever before. Character models gained sharper detail, facial expressions became more defined, and animations felt smoother and more natural in motion. Weapons reflected light dynamically, clothing reacted to movement, and battle stages were packed with atmosphere, from ancient temples to open fields shaped by wind and fire. The art direction leaned heavily into high fantasy realism, giving the game a dramatic and cinematic presence that stood out among fighting games of its era. Gameplay remains rooted in the series' signature weapon-based combat, built around fluid 8-way movement and precise spacing. Every fighter feels distinct, thanks to unique weapon reach, attack speed, and defensive options. The combat system rewards timing, positioning, and controlled aggression rather than simple combos, making duels feel tactical and intense. Veterans will notice refinements that make battles faster and more responsive while preserving the classic Soulcalibur flow. Soulcalibur III also expands heavily on content. Tales of Souls delivers an interactive story mode centered on the eternal conflict between the cursed Soul Edge and the sacred Soulcalibur. Create a Soul allows players to craft custom characters from multiple professions, weapons, and fighting styles. Chronicles of the Sword introduces a strategy-driven mode that blends real-time map progression with traditional one-on-one combat, adding depth and replay value. Exclusive to the PlayStation 2, Soulcalibur III stands as one of the most ambitious entries in the series, combining strong visuals, refined mechanics, and massive content into a single, unforgettable package. And that wraps up our look at this game. If you think I missed something important, a hidden detail, a mechanic, or even a moment that deserves more attention, let me know down in the comments. I always read them, and your suggestions help shape the next videos. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. See you in the next video.